No.
Tigers. Fight Tigers. Fight Tigers. Fight. Mike, it's not even a top 1,000 moment all time.
Okay, Tommy, shut the hell up, man.
Mike! Of course, I'm gonna go with the right answer. It's Ryan Eads of the Baltimore Orioles. He's only wore the number 80 for 8 games. He's only one of 2 players.
You know what? No, I'm not going to take this.
We are back with Goat Chat episode 120. We have taken a little hiatus, about a month and a half. Unfortunately, our schedules haven't necessarily lined up, but we are back. If you haven't seen, Matt has been doing his own thing in the meantime, Kane's Corner Sports. So make sure it's going to be in the description. Make sure to go follow his socials, watch his videos on YouTube. He has a bunch of great stuff he's pumping out there. But anyways, we are back. Episode 120, GOAT of the Carolinas this time up. So who do you guys got? We got the Carolina Hurricanes, the Carolina Panthers, and the Charlotte Hornets.
I'll take this one from here, Mike. I appreciate you shouting out. I am pumping out a lot of content about the Kentucky Wildcats and, their great college basketball run this year. But for Carolina, I'm going to go with Jordan Stahl from the Carolina Hurricanes. His resume isn't that much, he's a cup winner, all rookie team. But what he's done with Carolina, he's a leader on that team, and Carolina is a very good hockey team right now, and they really weren't 5 years ago, years prior. I'm going to go with his leadership and his performances on the ice. He's going to be my GOAT of the Carolinas. I thought about one guy who is a free agent now, and that's Cam Newton, because his resume literally is fantastic. I get he's dog water now, but I had to go with Jordan Stahl.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cam Newton has, been one of the best players in Carolina over the past 10 years. Super Bowl appearance, Rookie of the Year, all that stuff. But Connor, are you sticking with hockey or are you going with football or basketball?
You guys know me well enough where I'm not going with hockey. No, I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. And I know that he's had an injury-riddled career. He hasn't been on the field much the past 2 years, but when he is on the field and has the football in his hands, he's arguably the best player on the field. You could argue one of the best players in the NFL. So I just think if he can get over this little injury hump that he's had, and he's just such an injury-prone player, he's always hurt. So, obviously, I always hope the best for him. I don't want him to be hurt. I want to see him out there and producing. But when he's out there on the field, he's just so good. He's so electric. He's so shifty. He can move so efficiently. He's just he could be the best player on the field any given moment if he's healthy. So I'm going to go with CMC.
I agree that your praise for CMC, it's all there. He's one of the most talented players in all of the league. Just scratch running backs. He does things that we have not seen before on the football field. But unfortunately, he hasn't played a full 4 seasons, so I can't go with him. Obviously, the talent and, high-end potential is there, but I can't pick CMC. I'm going to have to agree with Matt here and go with Jordan Stahl. 16 years in the NHL, 10 with Carolina. And he's not necessarily that first line superstar center. He's not that guy. He's a leader on the ice. He's a defensive stalwart. He's just great on both ends of the ice. And even though he doesn't have that elite offensive production, he provides so much else to the Hurricanes, where when he got to Carolina, really, Carolina was a dump. They were not a good team. And over the past 10 years, he's helped implement a culture in which that they have taken to heart, and now they are annual cup contender year after year after year for the past 3-4 years, and they look even better this year. And I think that has to be in due part to Jordan Stahl and his leadership. He's the captain there. So for me personally, I got to go with Jordan Stahl.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, if he kept playing these past 2 seasons, I feel like I would have had consideration to pick him. And it might be recency bias there, but he's only played in 10 games in the past 2 years, just eclipsed over. Well, they didn't even hit. He was about to hit 100 rushes this past year, didn't hit that. It's kind of like Saquon Barkley over New Jersey, because Saquon Barkley was by far the best player to pick from that New Jersey group of people, at least on the Giants. I know, Connor, I don't want to touch anything about the Jets right now, but at least on the Giants, he would have been the most talented player there. It's just because of his injuries, he isn't. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. Anything else, guys? Guys, we've missed it's been like a month and a half. We missed a lot of stuff. We're gonna try to cover it in one segment, one whole episode. We're gonna try to cover all that in a matter of like 45, 50 minutes.
We'll see how long it is. Hopefully not too long.
Yeah, no, there's college basketball on later today. We'll see how long it goes. Coming up next on Go Chat. Welcome back to Go Chat. We are back. We have a lot to talk about, okay? The last time we came on was February. That was right before the Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
So we haven't even talked about the Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. All right, so obviously we can't hit everything because it's way too much. We'd be here for hours. So I'm gonna start us out here. This is gonna be our little catch up whole segment. I'm gonna start us out here with the news that came out about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago now. I was in an airplane when just about to take off. Seahawks trade Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. Huge haul. And then now we'll even go to recent. Devontae Adams traded from Green Bay over to Vegas. We're going to talk about the AFC West because this AFC West, they are playing chess here. I'm wondering who you guys think will be the winner of the AFC West and the fourth place team of the AFC West. I'm more interested in the fourth place team, but I think it's going to be a really great conversation to have between the three of us.
Man, honestly, this isn't even chess. This is just absolute like nuclear warfare. Honestly, between all the teams, they are just taking hit after hit after hit on each other. I mean, the Chargers have made so many moves on the defensive end of the ball. Really, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, even that defensive tackle from the Chargers, Joseph Day, I think his name is. They have added a lot, and they retained their guy Mike Williams as well. The Broncos, obviously, Russell Wilson. I love that deal for them. I thought that they were going to have to give up 3 first rounders. Instead, they give up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a couple players. But it's crazy. It's so crazy. And then the Raiders go out and make their own moves. They trade for Devontae Adams, extend him, give him a massive contract. Also add Chandler Jones and add Rocky Sin to the back end. So I mean, it's very interesting. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to take the Raiders as the fourth place team. I didn't like the Josh McDaniels hire. I like some of the coordinators he's brought in, but I think in totality, Josh McDaniels as a head coach will fail. I think they'll still be an around 500 team, but it's going to be very hard in that division. And it's so hard to say who's going to win the division. I think it's going to be between the Broncos and the Chargers. I think it's going to be between those two teams. I think I'm more confident in saying that now because they are the two more complete teams compared to the Chiefs. The Chiefs really, they haven't added anything in free agency except Juju.
Hey, yeah, they got the TikTok legend, Mike.
I mean,
you should know better, Mike. You're the one on TikTok right now.
They might have the Hall of Fame TikTok team, but it's not going to translate to the football field, especially on the defensive end. I think there are just going to be too many. Like for the Chiefs to win the division, the offense is going to have to be so spectacular on such a consistent basis. Because I mean, even the Raiders, I could see the Raiders taking the game off the Chiefs this year as well. So I think it's going to be between the Broncos and the Chargers. Would I be surprised if the Chiefs won the division? No, because they've done it for the past however many years. But I think at this point in time, it's hard to pick against the Broncos or the Chargers. I mean, they are just loaded from top to bottom.
Interesting. I mean, I loved your analysis and everything you said, Mike. Connor, I'm going to throw it to you. Are you going to agree with Mike?
No, I'm going to pick against the Broncos, actually. I think the Broncos could finish last in this division still. I know that they've made a lot of great improvements, but when I look, Russell Wilson's a great quarterback, and that's fine. And I think he's going to work well with Nathaniel Hackett. But I look at Seattle and he had DK Metcalf, he had Tyler Lockett, in his time in Seattle, he's had Marshawn Lynch at the time. He's had the Legion of Boom, and he won one Super Bowl and went to one other. And so it's just like he can do all of this great stuff on the field. I don't trust Russell Wilson to go out and win big games after what I've seen from him in the last couple of years. I probably put the Broncos at fourth place in this division. And I think the Chargers have made enough moves to actually get them over the hump and win the division. We saw them. They were literally seconds away from going to the playoffs this year. They were literally one timeout away called from Brandon Staley from that game on Sunday Night Football being tied, and them and the Raiders both going to the playoffs. And then you add J.C. Jackson on a very good team-friendly deal, I think. You add Khalil Mack on the other side. Sebastian Joseph Day from the Rams is a huge defensive tackle. He's going to be so good for that Chargers defensive line. I mean, you bring back Mike Williams. You still have Austin Eckler. You still have Keenan Allen. I just think this team's got it. I really think they're ready to make a big push.
All right. Well, for my fourth place, I have the Vegas Raiders because when I look at it and I look at the four quarterbacks, Mahomes, Herbert, Wilson, and Carr, do I trust all of them? No, I don't trust Derek Carr at the end of the day. He is he's very underrated. I will say that. He's a fringe top 10 guy with Watson and Brady back. He's not top 10, but he's a good quarterback. I just don't know if I trust him, even with all the weapons, even with Devontae Adams, with Darren Waller, with Hunter Renfrow. I don't know if I could trust him at the end of the day. And I think when it comes down to it all, I think it's going to come down to quarterback play. And I'm going to put the Raiders fourth. Now, for first place, this was a tough decision, but I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos because of Russell Wilson. Connor, you said Russell Wilson, he had DK Metcalf, he had Tyler Lockett, he had Chris Carson, even when he was healthy, with Marshawn Lynch. Those guys are great. And look what he did with the Seahawks. They were 12-4 prior to this year, 11-5, 10-6, and they didn't have playoff success, but that's because they ran into Aaron Rodgers of the world. Tom Brady's of the world were in the NFC that time. The Rams defense. Okay, so 2020 was the Rams, 2019 was the Packers, 2018. I don't remember who 2018 was, but anyway, they were just running into amazing teams in the NFC, and I wouldn't blame any of the Seahawks, not success on Russell Wilson because of their defense. We saw what the Seahawks were when Russell Wilson got hurt, and they literally were they were so bad. So I just think, even with Russell Wilson's poor year this year, he is going in a new place with a great offensive-minded coach and some young weapons. I think Jerry Jeudy's going to have a big jump. Cortland Sutton is a great player. KJ Hamler as well. Albert or whatever is a great tight end too. I am a little worried about the Broncos. Some of their defensive spots have holes, but I think with Wilson in the picture, a leader like Wilson, a player like Wilson, something that they finally need, a quarterback, I think that they're going to make that big jump, and they're going to be very competitive with the Chiefs. Don't get me wrong. The Chargers, I don't trust Staley yet. So late game situations, I don't trust Staley. So the Chargers are going to slide to my 3. I would probably say Chargers make the AFC wild card, along with the Chiefs, and Broncos win the division.
I want you to look at Derek Carr quickly. And I understand that we don't have to trust him. He hasn't done anything fantastic in the league. But for the past several years, he's been working with Hunter Renfrow, who is one of the best route runners in the league, and he's had good years. Darren Waller, who's been injured for the past several seasons. He's been on the field
last year. He was a little bit banged up last year. Other than that, he's been awesome on the field.
Yeah, but he missed 5 games last year or something.
Okay, whatever. Continue.
And then he had Zay Jones as his opposite receiver. He hasn't had targets. So I think going out there and getting Devontae is going to be huge for this offense, because it's not like then you have to put there's not going to be two people on Hunter Renfrow in the slot. There's not going to be a safety shadowing Darren Waller down the middle of the field. Like, they have 3 targets on each side. And then you still have Josh Jacobs in the backfield, who I think can be a good running back in the league. You know, he didn't have a very good year this year, but I think he can produce pretty well. And, you know, I mean, I think the right tackle that they took in last year's draft,
Alex
Leatherwood, I think he can get better this second year. He had a pretty rough first year. I think he can play better in his second year. I just think everything's coming together. And I think Chandler Jones on the defensive side of the ball, I think it adds so much. Rocky Sin, I think they still have a hole in their secondary. I think they probably go secondary in the 3rd round when they have one of their picks. I don't know. I just like the Raiders. I like the Josh McDaniels hire. I think Josh McDaniels can do a lot with this offense.
All right, let me ask you then. If there's one guy you don't trust in the AFC West, who would it be at quarterback?
Russell Wilson.
Oh my God.
I don't understand how you're taking Derek Carr over Russell Wilson. I really don't understand what Russell Wilson has needed to do to you know, give you his trust. You know what I mean?
I hate all of this great talk about Russell Wilson. He's been a great quarterback for several years. He has been. But like, when you look at his resume, I don't know. I'm not.
His resume stacked up way better against Derek Carr. I mean, are you ridiculous? Even last year, when he was banged up and he was throwing with like a torn ligament in his throwing hand, he still threw for like 25 touchdowns.
25 and 6.
I mean, and 25 touchdowns and 6 picks. He was still really good. And not only that, he's playing in like a prehistoric offense in Pete Carroll's system where they love to run. I mean, that offense was awful. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, but Greg Olson just tore into it. They said it was like a junior varsity offense. Like, that's how bad it was. And I think in Denver, Russell Wilson is going to make such a huge impact. And we saw last year with the Broncos how if they had even like mediocre quarterback play, that team could be absolutely phenomenal. We saw him go to Dallas and beat them down. We saw him almost beat the Chiefs twice last year, you know, losing within a touchdown. I think Russell Wilson, just the jump from Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock to Russell Wilson, and they really didn't give up that much to get him in terms of current players on their roster. Shelby Harris, you know, that's a decent loss. Noah Fant, he's a good player, but they got Albert O to back him up. Drew Lock is obviously nothing. And then you still look at the Raiders. They have so many holes on the roster. Their offensive line still sucks. Their secondary still sucks. Their linebackers still suck. I mean, outside their pass rush on their defense, what else do they have to look forward to? I mean, I don't understand where like this narrative, like, you know, that Russell Wilson is not good because he's still one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And
I just don't think adding him to your team opens up that Super Bowl window.
How does it not? Like, honestly, how does it not? Outside of last year, Russell Wilson has not finished below 500 in his whole career.
Late game situation. Who are you taking, Carr or Wilson?
Probably Russell Wilson. But
that's what it's going to come down to. That's what it's going to come down to, is late game situation. Like, I'm taking Russell Wilson over Herbert late game situation right now.
I wouldn't do that.
Herbert's just so young. I don't know. The thing about Russell Wilson is throughout our lifetime, we have said the Seattle Seahawks are going to be a Super Bowl contender. Maybe not last year because the Rams added Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray was on the rise, but throughout our childhood, our lifetime, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks were always in the loop with the Super Bowl contention. And let's be honest, he should have 2 Super Bowls if the play call was fine. And, you know, it's partially his fault for throwing a pick, but still, I don't know. Russell Wilson is just fantastic.
I mean, it was just 2 years ago where we all came on this podcast and both of you picked Russell Wilson to be the MVP for that year. We were still arguing between Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes for the best quarterback in the league. And there's no doubt in my mind that the skill and talent is still there for Russell Wilson. His commitment to his craft in the game is still there. And I think when he just needs to get out of the Seattle bubble, and he was still really damn good last year. Really, really good. In 2020, he threw 40 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, along with throwing over 4,000 passing yards. I don't know what else you want from the guy. I don't know how you're putting Derek Carr, who hasn't even won a playoff game, over Russell Wilson, who has won 9 and a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean Russell Wilson he doesn't have MVP, but he's always been in the running. I think he lost to Brady the year Wentz got hurt. He lost, I think, a year to Rodgers too, but I don't know. Yeah, so that's all I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how I feel. You guys know how I am. I think wins are a quarterback stat.
Yeah.
And after seeing how he did last year, and I mean, that Seahawks team still has a lot of really good talent on it, and they didn't produce the way that I wanted to see them. I mean, I came on here last year and said that Seahawks were going to finish last place in that division. And I didn't think I was going to be right, but then they went out and they didn't really produce. And I know part of that definitely falls on the defense, but when you have guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on the outside of you who can stretch the field, and when you have a healthy Chris Carson in the backfield, or even Alex Collins, who showed that he can be serviceable at times, like
I
you got to be able to go out there and win games when you have DK Metcalf on the outside, who he didn't even throw the ball to. Like in the second half of the year, he had like 2 touchdowns and like 20 receptions. Like, you have a great receiver on the outside who can go up and high point the ball and be a difference maker in a football game, and you're not throwing him the football. So I just think when you translate that over to Denver, who his now receivers are Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick, all solid guys, but Cortland Sutton didn't have a very good year last year. Jerry Jeudy's 3 years in, this is his 3rd year in the league. Hopefully he has a breakout year. And Tim Patrick got a huge contract extension last year for what I don't think he's necessarily worth. So, I mean, you throw him in there, and Javonte Williams in the backfield, I think, is going to be a really good safety blanket for Russell Wilson. He's going to be a really solid guy. But when I look at the weapons that he's had around him for several years, and then you switch it over to who he has now, I just don't think it's enough.
I think we could go on for this topic and forever, but obviously we have given our points. But one more thing about the AFC West: what do the Chiefs do from here? Like, are they like in deep trouble? Because not only has the rest of the AFC West, upgraded, but the rest of the AFC has taken huge leaps as well. Like, is it possible that we see the Chiefs as a 4th place team?
I don't think so. I think their offense can overpower everything. I think their plan of attack has to be defense, just about every pick in the NFL draft. I think they just have to absolutely load up. Losing Tyrann Mathieu is big. They brought back a young Eric Reed. I liked that signing. They need better linebackers. Say one of the linebackers, either Devin Lloyd or Kobe Dean, happens to fall to them, which I don't think is going to happen. But if they happen to fall, I think they jump on that. They still need to add defensive line. They just need to go defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think with Mahomes, as long as you have Mahomes there, I think they're always in the picture to be, contending for, at least out of the 4th. I understand Mahomes, he had a rough year, and even the Chiefs had a rough year, but still their offense is great with Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes. That's all I need to hear. And then I even think Juju's going to have a really good year too. Going back to that number 2 wide receiver on a team, he was paired up with Antonio Brown. Now he's paired up with Tyreek Hill. I don't think they're going to be 4th. I do think there's a possibility they end up 2nd or 3rd. But yeah, just defense. That's all they need to really focus on. Justin Reed, Connor talked about, brought him in for Tyrann Mathieu, because Matthew's a huge loss, but still they have some holes on defense that they're going to need to cover in the draft. I think that's where they look towards coming up.
Mm-hmm. They also lost Charvarius Ward, which I think is a huge loss on the outside. He's really been one of the more underrated cornerbacks in the NFL. He is now in the Bay Area with San Francisco, but Yeah, the Chiefs definitely have some positions they need to address. Connor, you mentioned linebacker. I think Nick Bolton was a great pick for them last year. He was someone who I wanted the Cowboys to take, and he played really well for the Chiefs, especially down the stretch in the playoffs and stuff like that. But outside of him, Chris Jones and Justin Reed is a nice pick up too. They have a lot of holes in that defensive end, which gives me some worry. I think there is a world where they finish fourth. Do I bet on it? No, they probably finish second or like first, honestly. I mean, it's just so hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes and that team. And we saw a little inconsistency from that last year, but I think at the end of the day, you still got to put them in the playoff picture.
All right, I think we have to jump to a topic that came out yesterday. Deshaun Watson's been meeting with several teams after his he got cleared on his lawsuit. He still has civil cases out there, so there is still a very good possibility he gets suspended or is not able to play in the NFL come September because he still has those 22 civil law cases out. But he's now quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. And he had originally told them he wasn't going to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. But Cleveland never gave up. They kept talking to him, and they told him that they were going to pay him what he's worth. And now he's getting $250 million fully guaranteed to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland sent to Houston 3 first-round picks, a third and a fifth. And Houston also got a fourth back with Cleveland got a fourth back with Deshaun Watson. I mean, Mike, what do you think?
I mean, absolutely blockbuster. I mean, obviously we have a group chat, and I said that just any team in the NFC South does not make sense for me because I don't think that they were contenders with Deshaun Watson. Really, the only team in the running that I saw would have been contenders was the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, last year I was super high in the Cleveland Browns, picking them to go to the Super Bowl, and I think a big reason why that fell through was the quarterback play. And I don't think that's going to be an issue now. I think Deshaun Watson is going to step in. He's going to return to his elite form. Might take him a couple games, but I think this is a fair deal for both sides. I think that's just what you got to give up for one of the best players in the NFL, and for the sake of, I guess all like the woman in the case and stuff like that, and Deshaun Watson. Hopefully those cases fall through and are, Deshaun Watson is deemed as innocent, because that's absolutely awful. Obviously, Cleveland is taking a risk on him because he's still got some civil lawsuits out, not as bad as the federal lawsuits, but we'll see what happens with that. But I think, if everything falls into place, Cleveland instant contenders, instant. That's all I have to say.
Thoughts?
If he goes to the Saints, you don't think they're contenders, Mike?
They make the playoffs, but I don't think they win the Super Bowl. I think you look at the team and they've lost a lot over the past couple of years. They've had some cap troubles. Obviously, we know all this cap is a myth stuff. It's all a joke. But at the end of the day, there's still a cap that teams have to meet. And I think they lost Sean Payton. Dennis Allen, I think, will be a good head coach. But outside of there's really not much surrounding talent. They'd be a playoff team, but I wouldn't pick them to sniff the Super Bowl.
Okay, so I just Cleveland Browns' sake, you hope that Watson plays. And that's kind of because you gave a lot for him. I think it'll pay off if they make a deep run in the playoffs or get to that Super Bowl, which I totally think they can. It's a crazy deal because we have Watson, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson in one division alongside Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, and Mitch Trubisky. It just makes the AFC more and more intriguing. I have no clue what the playoffs are going to look like because now the Cleveland jumped into the picture. And Pittsburgh is kind of jumping out of the picture. They still have a great defense, sign Miles Jack. See how Mitch Trubisky does, but still, it was a lot. I thought Houston had a ton of, or I thought Cleveland had a ton of leverage. That would be Houston had a ton of leverage. I don't know. I thought they gave up a ton. I would have rather saw a first and a second. instead of 3 firsts or first and a decent player and maybe like a fourth. But I mean, hey, if they make the playoffs, it's all worth it. I mean, we saw it with Matt Stafford. They won the Super Bowl. That trade was worth it. So let's see what they can do. Let's see what can happen. A little worried that it's in the AFC though.
Matt, I think you're wrong. I don't think that if the Cleveland Browns make the playoffs, it's worth it. They have to win a Super Bowl in order for this to play off. They gave up their
Deep
future.
playoff run.
They gave
Deep
up
playoff run.
they gave up 3 first-round picks. They gave up their future. So if he can't come and do anything that Baker Mayfield couldn't do for this team, it's not worth it in my eyes. Now, in terms of the actual trade, I hate it as a human being because this guy still has so many different civil lawsuits out about it, and now we're giving him $250 million fully guaranteed when he still has all this controversy surrounding him. And I know you're innocent until you're proven guilty and all of that stuff. I understand that, but it's so hard to think that 22 women would band together and lie about something like this. So I really hope that they get their closure that they need and they get everything that they want, and Deshaun Watson gets whatever's coming to him, whether it be an innocent charge or there's information or something and stuff comes out and he gets what he deserves because he has to. In terms of the deal, 3 first-round picks I thought was way too much. I agree with you there. You're giving up your future. I mean, those picks are so important. And we can look at the Rams and say they haven't taken a first-round pick since they drafted Jared Goff in the first round. But I mean, it took them so long to get to the Super Bowl. They had to go out and sign Matt Stafford this past offseason to get there. And first round,
they made the Super Bowl without him.
Yeah, I know. Yes. But I just think first round picks are so vital in the NFL. And I mean, I'm talking about this because I'm a Jets fan and they always have high first round picks. They're very important. But if Deshaun Watson doesn't come to Cleveland and win a Super Bowl after you just traded for Amari Cooper and now you trade for him and you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, it was for nothing. In my eyes, if you can't bring him there, and we're going to call him a top 5 quarterback in the NFL if he comes back, and if he doesn't win you a Super Bowl, if he does nothing for you that Baker Mayfield couldn't do, I mean, Baker Mayfield brought Cleveland to the playoffs. They won a playoff game for Cleveland. So if Deshaun Watson can't get above that, it's pointless.
Do you think he will?
I think he definitely has the potential to. But he also had great teams in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't get far. I mean, he had DeAndre Hopkins for several years. He had J.J. Watt on the defensive side of the ball. So, and Bill O'Brien was his head coach. So we can kind of take that with a grain of salt. But you need to win a Super Bowl if you're going to go out and give up 3 first-round picks and all this stuff and move on from the former number 1 overall pick from just 2018. I understand that he hasn't been fantastic, but he's brought you to the playoffs and he's won you a playoff game.
I don't know. We're on totally different ends of the spectrum here. I mean, if you're Cleveland, why do you not make this move? Like, do you think that Cleveland should have just stuck with Baker Mayfield and kept their 3 first-round picks and all their other assets that they gave up?
I think they could have. I definitely think they could have. You take those 3 first-round picks and you could absolutely build around Baker Mayfield. If you don't think you have enough options at wide receiver, you take a receiver at 13. If you want to get your defense better, you take a D end or a corner at 13. You have so many available options for you to do with first round picks, and college football just keeps getting better and better, and these players just keep getting better and better. So no matter what, wherever you pick in the first round, you're going to get a great athlete. And Deshaun Watson's a great athlete. Don't get me wrong. I've seen him play. I've watched him play live. It's absolutely unbelievable. But Baker Mayfield is also a very good athlete. And I know that he hasn't had the best relationship with Cleveland over 4 years, but he's done enough to get this team to the playoffs. And I think there's this huge recency bias because he was playing through an injury last year, and that's why he looked so bad. He had so much wrong with his shoulder, but he was playing to try to keep this team alive. I mean, that shows the type of person this guy is. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan, but he's playing with an injured shoulder that he had to get surgery on to try to keep this team alive and to help this team win. So I look at it, and Baker Mayfield definitely could have gotten the job done. He's got Nick Chubb. He's got Kareem Hunt. You give him Amari Cooper. You go out and you sign another receiver. You draft a receiver at 13, whatever you want to do. I mean, at the end of the line, in my eyes, and you're not going to change my opinion, if Deshaun Watson does not win a Super Bowl in Cleveland during his contract, this was a failure.
I think if you're Cleveland,
Yeah.
they had to make that move
Yeah.
because they're sitting ducks right now. They're sitting in a division that has Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens are just getting healthy now, and they're stacking up on players here and there. The Super Bowl AFC champion Bengals, the Steelers, who just add a quarterback, and possibly, let's be real, Big Ben was trash, and they made the playoffs. So adding Mitch Trubisky, you never know what the Steelers really can do. They had to do something. They saw the AFC West doing all these moves. They want to make the end game is making the playoffs and making the Super Bowl with Deshaun Watson, trading for him. They're in that end game. They're in that possibility. I don't see if Deshaun Watson is interested. I don't see. Okay, I do see because it's cases. But let's say Deshaun Watson's going to play and he's interested in your team. There's no reason for not going for that. Baker Mayfield, I understand he had a shoulder injury. He made the playoffs with the Browns. But just watching him, I mean, even prior to that, throwing 21 picks in a year, he's trash. I don't like Baker Mayfield. I just don't think he's that good. And I think he got the number one pick because of his personality, and he sold that. He sold that he was a number one pick, and that's why the Browns took him.
How many games do you think adding Deshaun Watson to this roster helps the Browns?
He's going to win you?
Oh, 5 plus
like-
games
like-
over Baker
like-
Mayfield.
Additional to Baker Mayfield. So how many games did Cleveland win last year? 7?
Six.
Six. So
Baker Mayfield's won 6 games every year except one.
So
11.
you add Deshaun Watson to the roster after they had 6 wins. How many wins are they getting this year?
4 or 5 more easily. I mean, I think there's an argument for 6. And you were talking about how Cleveland gave up their future. Obviously draft picks are great and everything, but we've seen teams, figure it out without draft picks. They still have all their second rounders. They lost one of the third rounds. I'm not sure which year it was, but they still have their second rounders, and they still have they're still going to be able to make moves in free agency by manipulating the cap and stuff like that. And their future is now. This team is loaded from top to bottom. They really don't have any holes anywhere, and they didn't give up any current players on their roster. So you're pretty much just subbing out Baker Mayfield and throwing Deshaun Watson in there. And first off, I want to mention, as a human being, 100%, it's not good to see someone get $250 million when you have a case against you like that. But in football terms, I think this is a great move for the Cleveland Browns. If you don't make this move, you're a failure as a franchise, 100%. You are just not trying, because Baker Mayfield is not the answer. We saw last year, he had there were no excuses for him last year, and he just fell flat on his face. 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, barely threw for 3,000 yards. I understand he was injured, but you're going to play that bad? If you're that injured, don't play at all. Don't play at all. Honestly, don't play at all. And it was his non-throwing shoulder as well. Deshaun Watson is a massive upgrade over Baker Mayfield, and this is going to be by far the best roster he's ever played with. Obviously, he had DeAndre Hopkins in Houston, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But outside of DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller for about 5 games a year, he didn't really have anyone else, no running game whatsoever. That defense was never elite. This defense in Cleveland is elite. He has Amari Cooper, and I'm sure they're going to make some moves in the draft as well to address some other needs, even though they really don't have any. I love this Cleveland Browns team from top to bottom, and they could 100% win a Super Bowl within Deshaun Watson's contract.
So you said that if Cleveland didn't make this move, that makes them a failure. So what about all those other quarterback needy teams out there that didn't offer or didn't meet with him? Are they failures of franchises then?
Well, they weren't as good of a team.
In the current position that Cleveland
is Carolina
is in,
a failure of a franchise because they weren't able to get him?
No, because they stink. They stink. If Cleveland did not go out,
sure, they stink now. But if you had Deshaun Watson to that after they just re-signed DJ Moore, you've got Robbie Anderson, who's a deep ball threat, Christian McCaffrey, who if he could stay healthy, you have a great secondary with J.C. Horn, the number 6 overall pick, which would have been traded. but you have J.C. Horn, you have Shaq Thompson.
I mean,
what Mike is trying to say is Browns are right now, like they're currently in like that playoff prime position. I mean, Kareem Hunt's deal is like he's gonna be gone by the next year. And they've literally been making defensive moves last year because they thought that they were going to be a really good team.
Look,
I mean, I'll agree.
I
I'll
think
agree
I
with
think
I'll
Deshaun
agree
Watson's
with
a great
Mike.
quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback, but if he's not going to win you a Super Bowl, this was pointless. It was for nothing.
are you going to say the same thing about Russell Wilson in Denver?
You gave him 2. Yes, I am. If you're trading for a top of the line quarterback and you're not going for a Super Bowl, or if you don't win a Super Bowl, then it's for nothing. I understand that you have to match the firepower that's happening in the NFL right now. And there are so many fantastic teams at this point in the offseason with all of the moves that have been made. But if you're going to go out and pay $250 million fully guaranteed to a quarterback who you're not even sure is going to be on the freaking field, he better win you a Super Bowl, or then I think you're a failure of the franchise. You can think they're a failure of a franchise if they don't make this move, but if they pay that much money and he doesn't win you a Super Bowl, then you're a failure.
All right, let me leave you guys on this. I think with Matt Stafford, obviously winning a Super Bowl was the end game. If you didn't win a Super Bowl, then what was the point of that? But Matt Stafford's also 35 years old. Deshaun Watson's a young quarterback. They're going to have him within the franchise for the time being and probably the future. So we'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. Great conversation, guys. I feel like we really caught up today with the NFL and, our Connor and Mike arguments or whatever. We don't have Go Picks. Those are on the Instagram, but we're going to head into the Go to the Week coming up next. Welcome back to Go Chat. We are back with the Go of the Week. It's been a while. Leaderboard, we don't need to go through that because it's just a broken record now.
The comeback starts now.
College basketball. We're in March Madness. I'm sure we're going to have great March Madness picks for Go of the Week. Mike, I'm going to start with you.
As much as it pains me to say, it's got to be Teddy Allen. He was the knife in UConn's heart, my UConn Huskies' heart. He dropped 37 points, perfect from the free throw line, scored over half of New Mexico State's total points. He's the first person ever in NCAA history, in the whole tournament history, to score more than half their team's points and be 100%, 13 out of 13 from the free throw line. He was absolutely unstoppable against the Huskies, and he was the only reason New Mexico State won. And who knows how far he could take New Mexico State, given, they still have a very good defense. And now they got that superstar player that really leapt into the spotlight like that. They could go a long way thanks to Teddy Allen.
All right, Connor.
I'm going to go with Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State. They upset LSU. And he played really good. He played 34 minutes. He had 23 points and 7 3-pointers, including the dagger with about 15 seconds left. I remember watching the game, and he pulled up from deep 3-point line. I didn't think it was going in. And he hit it to lock that game up. So, he played great. Iowa State could definitely be a sleeper team to make their way into the Sweet 16, even potentially farther.
Yeah, it was one of my only upsets that actually hit. Go to the week. I got Doug Eater, not only for his, his little thin porn stash mustache, but he was a dagger with Kentucky, especially in that overtime game. He was 2 for 2 from 3. He eclipsed 20 points on Thursday. It was the biggest upset and the most painful upset in a while. But yeah, Doug was the dagger in that overtime game, and he's the hero. He made the jump from just a player on a D1 school to unlikely hero. So I'm gonna have to go with Doug Eater, the St. Peter's hero. We'll see how they do today against Murray State.
Guys, it's been great getting back on here with you. I definitely missed this quite a bit. as Mike said as he opened the show, Matt's been plugging out so much different content for Kane's Corner. Definitely just hit him up. I mean, I'm roommates with Matt out here in Los Angeles, and I think he's always working on his laptop, doing some sort of graphic or doing something incredible to put out there. I mean, he's got a great work ethic. He's doing some great stuff.
I appreciate it.
Good thing he put out that whole March Madness post, and it's just absolutely blown
Oh my
up in his
God,
face
dude.
with the Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, I don't know why. I just had this weird feeling with Kentucky coming to the tournament that they were going to get upset early. I thought they were going to get upset by another in-state team in Murray State in the second round. But I mean, St. Peter's. I mean, all the memes going.
It was poor coaching at the end. Cap could have called a timeout, and he didn't.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I feel like that whole generation of coaches, like Coach K, even Roy Williams, towards the end of his tenure, Coach Cap, I think they're getting a little bit overrated, but we'll see.
I mean, I'm
Coach K overrated.
Yeah.
In terms of a coaching
There's-
sense, yeah, 100%.
There's,
Obviously, yeah.
I have thoughts on that actually, and we'll see how the tournament goes. Because I actually was mulling that idea: of, is Coach K actually overrated this past year? And I have some big thoughts on that. Maybe we could get through that. Kentucky. I mean, I just thought Kentucky had the best player in the nation. Other than take away the Gonzaga too, I think Oscar Tshiebwe was the best player in the nation. It's kind of where I was, building all that Kentucky love. But I don't know. I'm still alive in other brackets because I make so many. But
I've got Kentucky going to the Final Four, so I need some big moves happening here.
My Final Four is still alive in my main bracket, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
all right,
Tennessee, if
well,
Tennessee loses early, I'm screwed. I have them going to.
Tennessee's losing to Michigan, man.
Yeah, no shot.
Tennessee, you guys are opening like a whole new. You can ask Connor. You're opening a whole new like conversation. I can talk about this for hours. Tennessee, one of my favorite teams. I will leave it at that. One of my favorite teams, left with Arizona, so it's kind of like awkward there. But I'll leave it at that, guys. I love you guys. I love coming on here. I appreciate everything, all the love. Hopefully, we can get on here another time shortly, soon, and
With
bring Tommy. On.
We got to figure out the four of us. I need Tommy on here. We need to talk baseball before opening day on April 7th.
100%.
That's gonna be all for.
Matt looks so ecstatic.
That's gonna be all for today's Go Chat. We'll see you guys next time.